Hello, I'm Nick Papadopoulos. I'm the Dean of Salisbury. Welcome to our kitchen, the kitchen in the Deanery. I want to talk to you about Christmas pudding. I tend to be busy on Christmas Day, and so for the last 20 years or so, I have made the Christmas puddings that we eat in our household. It allows me on Christmas Day to think that I've contributed at least something to the festive table when I get in from work. Christmas pudding is, of course, the stickiest, gooeyest, most delicious, most wonderful creation there is. But it's more than that. Here are two, as they say, that I made earlier, and they're both dated. This one I made in November 2022, and we'll eat it at Christmas this year. This one I made in November 2023, and we'll eat it at Christmas 2024. So making a Christmas pudding is a little bit like planting a tree. When you plant a tree, you never know whether you will get to eat the fruit that it bears. And when you make a Christmas pudding, you're making something that will be eaten in more than a year's time. And anything, as we know, might happen in between. But making it and sitting it in the cupboard and knowing it's there is, I think, a little tiny gesture of hope and of trust that all will be well. Then there's the appearance. I mean, I'm guessing that to you these look pretty similar. Same pudding basins, same foil tops, same string handles. That's always the most difficult part of the process. But they're not quite the same. And they'll contain some surprises even for me when we eat them. You see, I think that in this one, I included some figs along with the other dried fruit. And I know that in this one, I didn't include any barley wine because I couldn't find any this year. So I had to use extra brandy and extra stout and so on. Little differences, subtle differences, but real differences. They look the same, but they're not the same. A bit like Christmas itself. We value the traditions and rituals of Christmas. What we eat, when we eat it, when we open our presents, what we listen to, and so on. And on one level, Christmas looks the same from year to year, and there's a comfort and a familiarity in that. It reminds us that each of us is part of something bigger than we are. But there are differences too from year to year, some of them joyful, when there's a new face around the table, a new relationship or a new baby. Some of them are deeply sad when a dearly loved face is no longer around the table. But Christmas and its traditions and its rituals hold all those differences and still help us to remember that we are part of something that is bigger than ourselves. There is continuity and there is change, just as there is in these two basins. And then lastly, most importantly, eating. In our household, we try to gather around to stir the Christmas pudding on the day before I steam it. 4 of us will sit down to Christmas dinner here. 3 of us stirred it, and the other one had to join us online as we did it. But of the 4 of us, only 2 really enjoy Christmas pudding, my wife and I. Our adult children will have a tiny helping to humour us, but then won't touch it again. They'd rather eat some interloper like tiramisu. And my wife insists on eating hers with clotted cream, which is plainly an obscenity, whereas I prefer something like brandy sauce or rum butter, something like that. So we're very varied in our approach to Christmas pudding, but we all think it's important. we all gather to stir it. If it wasn't on the menu, there would be uproar in the household, and those of us who do eat it differently. And I think that too is important, because it seems to me that as a people, it has become more and more difficult for us to stay in the same room with people with whom we disagree. And it's become more and more difficult to hold more than one opinion about the same subject. We're all for this, or we're all for that, and never the twain shall meet. And the Christmas pudding that I eat this year, and in our different approaches to it, our different, if you will, relationships with it, help me to remember that we can agree about the value of something, and we can make our own approaches to it, and we can still do so in love and unity and together. And Christmas is, after all, about the bridging of the greatest divide of all, when God comes among us in Jesus to show us how much he loves us. So, I hope there's a Christmas pudding on your festive table. If there's an interloper like a trifle, then I hope you enjoy that as well. I hope more than anything, that you're able to eat it with people who you love and who love you. And wherever you are and however you're celebrating, from this table, I send you my love and my prayers for a very joyful and happy Christmas.